They say it's not rocket science. Well, it actually is.
Hello there! Welcome back to the Rocket Science podcast. Today we bring something interesting and a little bit sensitive topic.
Really?
Yeah, its legacy and the popularity still carries today's age with different version and style.
Well, yeah. Let's get into it. When people actually say democracy, it sounds very much familiar with our terms in our daily life. So where did it actually start?
Yeah, that's a great place to begin with. The idea of democracy actually comes from a very ancient time. It goes back into the ancient world like Athens and Greece. So we have to go back in time to know the meaning of democracy actually.
Yeah.
So actually there's also another interesting fact, the democracy, the word we are using right now, democracy, it's not the original word.
Yeah.
The original word it derives from Greece. So the actual word is called dēmokratia. So the meaning is like demos represent people, and criteria represent the power and the rule. The people and ruler of the people. If we combine it, is the rule by the people. Power of the people. So that's very meaningful and very interesting way of combining these things. So over time, it changed. It passed day and centuries, and then the word literally changed into democracy. Right now, we are using. So there are the founder, the origin of democracy. The founder is the first time that bring democracy show up is around BCE, like 507 and 508.
Yeah.
So around that time, the democracy started appear. So who brought that idea is the guy named Cleisthenes. Like that guy name. Greece name and Athenian name. So that man started bringing the idea of the democracy. But before that, there is another one who already founded the democracy. But the guy Cleisthenes, he reshaped and modifying the democracy, and then he proposed the idea of democracy. But back then, the democracy is not something very popular, or it's not quite wider. So they have strict limitations, like you can't in back time you can't vote. If you're a woman, you can vote. And enslaved people, they can't vote either. There's only like male are only allowed to vote. So that's that kind of restriction, but still they hold the ideas of democracy, like people have freedom. People must have freedom to remove the elite people who are controlling everything. So that's quite interesting. There are so many different types of democracy, and so I'm wondering what type of democracies we are using nowadays, and if we compare it to the back then democracy, then how does it make differences between that?
Yeah, it's actually quite interesting how they invented the democracy idea into the world. Like in the Athenian world, as you said before, that guy who invented
Cleisthenes.
Cleisthenes. Yeah, that name is a bit hard to pronounce for me.
Of course.
Yeah, he proposed the idea of democracy into the Athenian world. They loved it. Back then, they don't have that idea. They have like the king. Of course, the king have to rule everything. Whatever the king says is the law.
The king is monarchy.
Yeah, it's kind of monarchy, but the king doesn't need to follow the law. He's a king. He can kill everyone if he wants. So it's like that. So after that, they not liking that system. So they're trying to change it into a little bit of democracy style. Yeah. What they do is like they have a very big building in there. I forgot the name of that. There's a little very big building. They gather around like 30,000 Athenians in the area. 30,000 Athenians from their country. Their country that's around like 10 to 20% of the whole people. They gather around like how they choose those people is it's a little bit of races in these kind of areas. If you think about it, because they choose only like wealthy people can attend to that. Only the people who owns land, at least the people have to own a land to go into that building. Also, no women, no slaves, just only men, pure men in a wealthy area. They all get into around like 30,000. That's around 10% of the total population at the time. So 30,000 people gather around in the building, and then they choose 500 out of those. It's called the Council of 500. The way they choose is that it's completely random, choosing that 500. I don't know why.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they choose like normal like poll in a random poll. They choose a random poll, and they choose random 500 out of that 30,000 people. They choose 500 out of that, and then from in that 500 is like representative of those 30,000. They have the representative of that.
That
So
doesn't seem fair.
that doesn't seem fair, but they have slave already. They don't have a complete democracy yet. They already have slaves, so they're trying to get the idea of the democracy at the time. So, or to that 500 council, the 500 people, decide whether it should be the law, whether we should punish these people, or like you're trying to make the legislature in today's term. So, the term, the idea of the democracy is derived from the previous article, the previous philosopher. I think it's Aristotle. Yeah, Aristotle, founded around like a few percentage of democracy they used at time. They modified that into today's world of democracy, and after time changes, many countries have used that in practical government system, and it seems to be working quite well, but sometimes it doesn't work quite well. So I think we should compare about some of the pros and cons of the democracy.
I think democracy works different ways. For example, I have this analogy, to make it to like visualize the democracy. So, like if you have we have different personalities, right?
Yeah.
So each person has different personality. So if you are according to circumstances and situations, we wear different clothes as well, right? If you're going to attend a wedding, then you wear proper suits, right? Like accordingly, if you are going to travel, then you wear more light and charming dress and suit. So I think that's how democracy works. Democracy also has different types for different countries. Like each country has their own version of democracy, but the core idea is same. Even though democracy sounds very complicated and different, but the core idea is always the same, right?
Yeah.
It represents freedom of speech. Like people, citizens, all the citizens have a say, in decisions and in choosing their leaders and their governors, right? So there are so many types of democracy if we consider and if we look around the world. Like in Asia, we have this parliamentary democracy, and also in Western country there's presidential democracy, and also in Europe there is like constitutional monarchy democracy. There's like several types of democracy, right? They practice. So in French and Norway, they have like monarchy democracy, right?
Yeah,
they have their king, but it's like the kings and the queens, they only have like a figure,
Yeah.
they make it like a figure only, but the actual thing is like they practice democracy.
Also,
So,
like British too.
Yeah, British too.
Yeah.
So they maintain the legacy like that, but they change it into a modern legacy and modern way of practicing. So there are like nowadays like a lot of differences are like changing, developing, and if we look how it is evolving, that we can see like the democracy, they started appear like direct democracy, right? People directly involved in there. Like back in the day, a lot of people directly involved in decision making and choosing leaders. They have to vote their leaders. Like each person has to vote. But nowadays they choose representatives, right? Representative from each state. So that it's more easier to represent in the Senate, in the House. So but elections should be transparent too, right? That's the democracy encourage transparency, honesty, and trustworthy things. So there are lots of pros and lots of benefits from practicing democracy. Like we have to in we there is like freedom of speech. We can remain, but there's also one line that I really enjoy, is your rights stop where someone else right begins. So I think that's really makes sense, because even though democracy gave us freedom, but it has limits, it has rules, and it has boundaries, right? We have to follow. It has laws. So I think we have to give like at least benefit of a doubt on democracy, because it's still evolving. It's not perfect, but it's still evolving. So I think we should we should let it change over time.
If you want to draw back a little bit of time on discussing about a little bit of drawbacks of the democracy idea. The first one who founded the modern type of democracy is in the U.S. around like 17th century. Yeah, they founded the constitution, and they founded like democracy, freedom of speech, and all the stuff. But it's funny that at the time they say it's freedom. Everyone have the same right. Everyone have the same. Since they're born, they have the human right to live by.
It's called natural rights.
Yeah, natural rights. Yeah, they use the law of natural right. And then it's funny that they're still slaves at that time. They doesn't have a natural right. The slaves are just crying in the corner for that.
Yeah.
Also for the woman, they don't have that much at the time too. But after a period of some times, if after some protest, after some reconsideration into the law, they change the constitution. They add the amendments, and it becomes more of actual freedom, but limited with laws, limited with the constitution. But if we have to talk about the freedom, we have to consider about how much of freedom are we talking about. With what kind of rule are we going to measure the word freedom? In today's, I think there are many people are taking advantage of that freedom. Saying that to criticize other people, to judge other people by in many other different ways in public features. So it's like I'll say that's a little bit of drawbacks of the democracy system. Also, there's one more thing is like democracy will mainly work on elections and voting, right? So it means that one vote it's equal to the one people, one say, one opinion. One vote is one opinion. But I don't think that idea is not quite working, because not every vote can be considered. It's not qualified enough to be the actual say in legislation, because not every people in the country is well educated enough to be involved in, for example, nuclear weapons laws. About the president is about to make the law about usage of the nuclear weapon. They call it for roll call, and then all the people in the country get to vote. But not every people in the country has the knowledge of the nuclear weapons, and has know the potential of the nuclear weapon and what can cause to them. They don't know that. They just voted based on what they are telling. They don't actually know what is it behind it. So I don't think one vote is equal to one say. Only for some actually well educated people have to get this specific vote to in order to make a very, very big decision for the country.
That's also one thing that's half true, but I don't support fully, because
Right.
I mean, let's say if you look at for example, let's say like the New York mayor Mamdani,
Yeah.
He's a great leader, right?
Yeah.
As there's no defense, or there's nothing wrong with him. He's actually doing as he said. So when they started competing in elections, so all the people, New Yorker, they started voting for him. So in that place, we can say that one vote equal to one person say, because even though there are so many, if you're gonna consider a lot, like each person to get a say, then you're never gonna make it, to build our actual things. Like if you let's say if you're gonna consider like each vote has a say for per person, right? So then it won't be fair anymore, because like Mamdani will never be a leader at that point. If you're gonna do like that, like if you're gonna consider a lot each person like that, then that good leader cannot be a good leader anymore, because they can't accept like one person say like, oh, we're not gonna we don't like this person, and the other person say, okay, we like this person, and there start a tension. They between them there start becomes like tensions and contrition. So I think democracy means like you you can have everything. Like you can at some point there is always a flaws and there's always weakness, right? But what it means is that what it means is you have to work harder, to like to improve more, to develop more, like to do many desire of the citizens people, to fulfill their needs and their wants. So in order to do that, you have to sometimes you don't have to listen some of the people opinions and their say, because I mean there are like different types of labor and different types of people living, so not everyone will get the same thing, will get the same educations, right? According to we are being raised. So a leader has a like at least some qualification to lead a country, right? So I don't mean like all the leaders are good. That some leaders really are a very good qualification, and they can lead a country. They can make a better decisions. So if he's making the decisions, and then but the followers, like you say, like some of the voters and some of the people, they don't like it and they start against these things, then it will like the goal would never make it. So I feel like
many people, if the majority of the people doesn't agree with the decision, the leader should not do it. That's how democracy works, because the majority of the people are protesting against that single law. They don't want that law, so the leaders should not make that law, because the majority of the people are actually living in the country. They're actually suffering the consequences of the law. So if they don't like it, so they just don't. You can't make it.
That's why
that's how democracy do.
Yeah, that's why you also have to listen the people voice, and also sometimes you don't have to listen people voice. Like in some decisions, like I don't mean every decision you have to listen. You have to listen people voices. Of course, you have to, but it has some categories. If like war started happening and like the other countries started attacking, and the people in your country are saying like, no, we don't want this war, we don't want this happen, this happen, or because this will kill a massive amount of people, so we don't want it, and they started protesting. So what a leader gonna do? In that kind of big decisions, then I think leader has a say. He has like the authority he has accountability. If a leader can can take responsibility for what he decided, then I think we should give a like benefit of a doubt.
Actually, when you talk about the war, the leader have responsibility. You say like that. What about actually the leader is not going to the war by himself. The citizens are going to the war. He sent the citizens to go to the war, and citizens die in there. How will he take the responsibility for the death of those millions of people in the war? He can't take the responsibility for them.
Well, that's why you have. I mean, the world is not a peaceful place, right? In fact, since in the Stone Age, there has been war, like different types of wars, and people dying, and then they reshape the society, and the civilization happened, and the evolution happened. So that's how human society, human world started developing. So you can't. I mean, in this, according to this situation, like in war situation, you can't deny the world war. I mean, it might happen. I mean, you can't deny it. A single country can't deny it. Like can't do anything. So at the end of the day, you have to prepare for it. So a country has a military and has a soldiers to fight for. So to protect the civilians, to protect the people. So I know they are also citizens, but they take accountability for what they are going to do, because their duty is to protect the country, and the president and the leader duty is also to protect the soldiers and civilians. So he will do his best to try not to happen this war, or to stop, because to protect his military and his soldiers, civilians. But if he can't, it's not in his hand. Like the war is happening like at everything at once. So a single leader can't do it. But if it is going to happen, then they have to take the responsibility and they have to go for it.
Actually, as a single country or a single leader can decide whether it's going to happen or not, even especially for the big country with a big power, with big image around the world, can decide whether he's going to start. If he literally started to bomb a really big bomb to the country, a war gonna start. If you don't, the war won't start. It's based on his decision too. There are many countries around, for example, US, Russia, China, North Korea. Many big countries can start a war right now, or they can stop the war right now. It's their decision to make. But what I'm saying is like the voting. The voting is one vote is not equal one say. That's what I'm implementing, because not everyone is qualified enough to get in the say of the vote because they haven't done their homework yet. They should do the homework before they have get into this political decisions and making law in legislature. I think that's a little bit of flaws of the democracy system. Democracy let all the people around in the country decides for every single law, because that's not right. But well, they say that there is a house representative. They choose for this specific state. They have this number of representatives that can represent for them. But it's not always not all the voices are heard, and not all the problems are solved in the democracy systems, because they say it's freedom, because but it's actually not freedom. It actually makes you think, draws attention to you, think that it is freedom, but it actually controlled by the government or on the above, with a little bit of dictatorship in it, not completely democracy system.
Well, yeah. I mean, if there's gonna be a completely democracy system, then I mean the world will be like chaos. Like, if you give like full of freedom, then just imagine like a traffic. If there is no traffic, what will happen? That then will happen is accidents. So many accidents happen, and there's no one to take accountability for that. So that's why there should be a traffic. So I think that's how democracy system work. It's controlling, but it's also giving the amount of freedom a little bit to the people. If you're gonna compare with back in the day and nowadays, yes, we can say like we started having freedom. We can say we can raise our voices and we can protest. We have like so many other things that we can do that we couldn't do in back the people who couldn't do in back in the day, right? So like for example, women can start voting, and also like there's no slave, like almost there's no slaves anymore. The slave is like it's already aborted, right? Yeah. So that kind of freedom, it only brings because of democracy. So you can't say that democracy is not good for everything. It has like so many benefits that has been done to the society and to the human world to evolve and to develop. So there are also so many developing countries that are today trying to achieve the democracy. Like for example, in Tunisia, Sudan, and Afghanistan, they have like they don't even know what is the democracy. Like they know that it's something for them to get it, to achieve, or so that they can take their freedom. So for those people, democracy is not evolving yet. So they need that thing. We don't, even though the world is changing, everyone can catch it, right? Everything is like going fast forward. So we can't have everything at all once. Like if you're gonna change a better form of democracy, then I will say that it could be like hybrid form, like democracy, like there is a freedom and also a little bit of dictatorship. Like it's like controlling, will give you like freedom, but also will control you a little bit, so that to protect you. It's not like it's not stopping you from doing what you like and what you don't like. It's just protecting you from the like harmful things, or like to not to happen some bad things. Like that's why we have laws, that's why we have rules. So I think democracy isn't like bad after all.
Well, if you say like that, democracy can provide you safety, a good education like that. For how about in India or many of the Southeast Asia country, they have democracy. Do they have better education? Do they have better traffic system? Do they have better government system? Do they have better in environmental sustainability? They don't have that. They only have climate change all over the place. They don't have better control on the country. The democracy system alone is not have the better control on the country, on the whole country as a whole, because the thing is that not every people on the above area of these things, or of the legislature, of the Senate, are not qualified enough for their job, because in many countries there are so many bright in case, so many like you can go in there for just with a little bit of money and that like that. So it's not always fair to be in that place. There's one example I like that I saw in the video. And one person who actually knows how to fly a plane tells you that he's gonna fly the plane in the 30,000 feet with safe and sound, and then he's gonna deliver all the people on the plane to their desired destination. The other person who doesn't actually know how to fly a plane, but he said that if I get to fly the plane, I can assure all of you will get the business seat and on the plane. Choose where the people mostly would are going to choose. On our desire, people usually look of what the government is going to give, what the person is going to give, instead of what is going to get in the long term and the safe and sound. People usually choose for the guy who's going to give them business seats. They go with the business class. It's a very very comfortable place. Many people dream to go on that place. So, but the pilot doesn't actually know how to fly the plane. It's exactly the democracy. The leader doesn't actually know how to fly, how to run the whole country because of this democracy system, because of the votes, because not every vote is equal to one say. That's how I'm saying like that. Because if the democracy system is strong enough to tear down the dictatorship, there won't be no more dictatorship because the dictatorship has been worse. We have already faced that in our country and many other countries around the world. We've already faced that. It's very bad, but democracy is not strong enough to let it down, to let the dictatorship let it down. It's not going to going down. Many countries have that communist dictatorship. Also in back in the day was Soviet, so it's a little bit faster too. So it's not strong enough yet to stop these evil things, to stop this very crucial way of running the government. So we have to find a better form of democracy, a better way that we can run the country. What I suggest is that figure like a few thousands of people, the smartest people in the country, gather around that and let them run the country. Let them make the law without or not all the people in the country, not all everyone else in the country cannot say directly, but they can say through representative. They cannot directly vote, but they can say their problem to the representative, and that representative will suggest a law in the legislature. They can decide, because the smartest around a couple thousand of people in the country that actually runs the country, they will always look forward for the development over development, because they don't have to worry about how uneducated people, not unqualified people are in above the law. That's why that's the democracy's problem. That there are many people who can actually sit above the law and then just do absolutely nothing about that. Because of course in this it evolved bribing, but democracy is it cannot completely abolish the bribing system as well. Mostly happen in the Asian countries. Also, as I said before, dictatorship, they are not strong enough to abolish the dictatorship and the fascist and the communist too.
That's also like a great example. I mean, but as a human nature, we are thirsty for the power. We chase for the power. Yeah. Like, no matter how we say that we're not interested in power and authority, but to get a certain place, to get a certain things, you chase for the power, you chase for the authority. So like because we human are made of these things. We have ego, we have emotions, we have this pride,
desires.
So desires. So these are not like easy to get rid of. It's not. So as long as even if we are finding the better form of democracy, then those things will get along with that. Because it's always alongside, like it's like side by side, like a palm of a hand. It's side by side. You can leave it all. There will always be corruption, and there will always be these people who are who loves money, and who love to have briberies. So those things. So it won't go like forever. But yet the democracy we need to reshape, and if we are gonna give like you said, a couple of thousands of people to rule, to make laws and everything. But I don't think that's gonna be also a solution, because a lot of people, they are not they know how to say that they are problem, but they are not like they don't have leadership skills, leadership style.
That's why I said smartest people, the most strongest,
Yeah,
smartest
how you're
people
gonna
to run the country.
how you're gonna choose who is smart or who is not smart? I mean, that's, yeah, even though it's easy to say, but it's not. It's hard to do in actual way, you know, because there are like so many people, thousands of people are living, like millions of people living in here. So if you're gonna choose like smartest people, how are you gonna define like people who memorize everything like heart by heart, like textbook through like everything, like, you know,
mostly based on maybe experience, like
based
and the qualification,
based on knowledge, or based on their experiment or experience, you know. So so there are like so many things, like even if we're gonna apply scholarship, even if you are qualified enough, they still ask for the you know like for like a certificate or for extra documents. So those stuff, you can just like, I'm qualified, I know this stuff, I've done this before, but no one gonna believe you because you don't have something to grab on, right? So yeah, they always need proof. So that's the problem that they need to fix first. And another example I really love is like democracy looks like let's imagine like a pillar of a house. Like, you know, in Asia country, there is Asia house. The house is made of like pillar, you know, like wooden pillar. So imagine like democracy is the strongest pillar of a house, right? But if the system is correct, like the people who are leading are not good, and they are like a power hungry idiot. So if they are like a termite, you know, destroying inside that pillar, like eating everything, every strand, every strongest part of the democracy, and it started collapsing, you know, like at once. Like even though it seems like strong and beautiful outside, but in reality, inside is just you know, corruption and collapsing, like slowly, eventually. So if we're gonna need a better form of democracy, then we need to think how to take it down, these leaders, these corrupted leaders first. You know, that's not easy, because nowadays it's a lot of things are evolving. There's like nuclear weapons. There are these big nations who have a big authorities and powers. So I mean, that's gonna be a very hard war, you know, to take it down and everything, is because dictatorship they grip the power, like they're never gonna let it go, even if they die. So that's kind of thing. So
that's why we need stronger system that is more stronger than the dictatorship and the communist system. Well, it's true to say that China have communist system, but they are working very well in their country.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it's not going to work in other countries, but it works in its own country. It's good, but it's not a global standard form of government for every country to follow.
Yeah, that's why I'm telling, like every country, each country has their own types of democracy, and they are practicing those, and they are upgrading, and like, you know, over upgrading, and it turns into dictatorship. Like they over upgraded, and it turns into like that. So I'm interested about India. You know, you tell India is like the biggest democracy country. But the one thing about the problem about India is like population. They can't control the population, so the level is not. It's like some rich people are very rich, and the poor people are like keep pouring, and so it's like there's a huge gap between that two like living standards, you know. So they can't gap it down, and the government can't do anything about it. But they are also very good at like education. If you look at it in a bright side, the technology is very like evolving and developing in India.
That's why they got those scammers too.
Yeah, that's why there's so many scammers as well. But still, they are doing you know, they're like doing their best. But in Asia, or like democracy is not gonna like last forever. It will appear, it will disappear. Like, I mean, for example, look at our country, Myanmar, right? So it had a like democratic form in 2000, start from 2010. So
15,
2010. It had a democratic form, and it started forming, but now it's collapsing everything.
Because it's not strong enough.
Yeah, that's why we need better form.
Yeah, that's why I said about choosing a couple thousand people that to run the country. Is like you need to have a really good standard. set a good standard of how the leader should be in terms of qualification, in terms of experience, in terms of age as well, or in terms of ethnicity. Maybe ethnicity might not be in there, but the nationality, of course, you gotta be in the country. So based on, you gotta put a standardized this thing, a standardized material in there, and then you're gonna choose the leaders on that, and that those couple thousand people gonna run the country, decide very big decision for the country, to make the legislation, to make the law, to make treaties with other countries, everything. So that's what it should be. I think that will a little bit of reducing the risk of that, because for example, like if you get sick, you will go, you won't ask for someone on the street for some medical attention.
Yeah,
you won't get that. You will go to the doctor, you go to the professionals to get the medical attention, to get the treatment. In the same way, for for making changes the law about the nuclear weapon, you won't ask for the opinions from someone who's laying on the street. You won't ask for that, because that people say that he is also deserved one vote, because he's a human being, he got human rights, but he hasn't done the homework. He is not qualified enough to consider as a one vote.
Maybe
That's
he's
why.
a deadline fighter, something.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's why only the educated people, only the wealth educated people, well experienced. Not only education is enough always. So
Yeah.
a well education, well experienced, and those people only allowed to get the vote. That's why not everyone in the country should allowed to get the vote. That's a little bit of this corruption. I think that will a little bit of reduce the corruptions above the law, above those senates and the house and stuff like that. So and also in terms of India, you mentioned like you said that the government is doing the best and that they can do nothing. But in running the country, you can't just say that I'm doing the best as a leader. You have to
Yeah.
you have to make it actually work to actually prove it. But it's not working yet, so they also need a better form of democracy, maybe a new form.
Actually, I just got an idea. It's not we don't need better form. We need a younger people to actually lead. We need to give younger people, young people a place. But if you look at the leaders, like the country's leader, just look at their old. They're just old and they can't do any, like over 50 or over 60. They are
Yeah.
leading the country and they can't do anything. Like literally, like they don't want to give young people a place, to take an actual lead, because young people have a ability and they are qualified. They can do more. They have visions. They can do more and they can lead more. So, but the problem is that they don't want to give young people a place. So that's why we need more young people to involve in politics and to actually run the country. So that's the better form of democracy. That will happen the better form of democracy if young people get the place.
Also, we have to be careful about the young people of this generation too. This generation is a little bit of messed up. So in order to choose the right person for that leader position, they have to have this standard test for like we have the test to go into the university. They have to go through the test to go into the legislation, to go to the Senate, to go to the House of Representatives, like that. So even inside the house, they need to maintain their form, maintain their professionalism in making the laws, without making these goofy ass thing. So making in democracy is, it starts to get evolving, I guess. I mean, in some countries it start to get a little bit evolving, but some countries is staying back in the time. So we need to oppose fresh ideas from young minds, from young people, from youth, like many youths around the world. They need more opinion, they need more perspective around the world. So
yeah, the idea of democracy sounds like ethereal, but in reality it's very messy and very chaotic.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really, I mean, it's really a difficult journey that we have been through, about democracy. So that's a big word and sensitive.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we've discussed about the differences of the Athenian democracy and in the first place, and the latest democracy of the monarchy, parliamentary, and all the stuff like that in today's world. So every side has pros and cons, and not everything is perfect. So every side has pros and cons and everything. So then we need to address, if this thing is not working in your country, we need to address it. We need to find a better way to we need to find the better way to evolve that, make it work for the country.
Yeah, just closing the doors and finding the answers doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so don't be like that. You know what I mean?
And maybe that's a real takeaway. Democracy isn't just something we just have. It's something that we continuously build.
Exactly. Democracy isn't just a system. It is an ongoing conversation. Its strength really depends on how willing we are to participate and to question and to protect it together.
Yeah, that's all for today. I hope you guys get something to think about along the way. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.
Because it's not rocket science. Oh wait, it actually is.
So where did it actually start?
How does it make differences between that?
I think we should compare about some of the pros and cons of the democracy.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
And because it's not rocket science. Oh wait, it actually is.